Hello, friends. We hope you enjoy listening. Rachel glanced at the clock. 3:30. Daniel had left an hour ago, said he'd be back by 6. A get-together with old college friends. Steve and Victor were in town, wanted to hang out, reminisce. She nodded, kissed him goodbye. Just a normal Saturday, nothing special. Now she wandered around the apartment, not knowing what to do with herself. She opened the fridge, full she'd stocked up yesterday, turned on the TV, some home renovation show, turned it off, scrolled through her phone, got bored after 5 minutes. She had spent the whole week buried in numbers. She worked as the chief accountant at a trading company. Saturdays were supposed to be for herself. But today, such a heavy sadness came over her that she just wanted to go out and walk wherever her feet took her. So that's what she did. She threw on a light jacket, grabbed her purse, and left. October had been warm, sunny. Outside, the air smelled like fall, the sweet scent of fallen leaves. Rachel walked past familiar houses, then turned toward the little park. Here, on the old bench by the fountain, a fortune teller always sat, an elderly woman with a worn deck of cards. Rachel had seen her 100 times in passing. She had never stopped, never believed in that nonsense. But today, her eyes caught on the figure, and suddenly she thought, why not? Out of boredom, just because. She walked closer. The fortune teller looked up, a heavy, tired gaze. "Do you do readings?" Rachel asked. The woman nodded, pointed to the chair across from her. Rachel sat down, took out her wallet. $30, the fortune teller said dully. Rachel handed over the bill. The woman slipped the money into her pocket and silently pulled out the deck. The cards were old, worn around the edges. She shuffled them slowly, almost lazily. "What are we reading for?" she asked without lifting her eyes. "Everything," Rachel said with a smirk. "My life." The fortune teller began laying out the cards. Rachel watched her hands. She was just curious. Any second now, she'd say something vague about travel and money. Nonsense, but entertaining. The fortune teller placed the first card in the center of the spread. And suddenly, froze. Her fingers twitched. She jerked her hand back as if she had burned herself. "What is it?" Rachel asked in surprise. The fortune teller said nothing, staring at the card with wide eyes. Then she covered it with her palm. "Leave your house," she whispered. "Do you hear me? Leave. Before he comes back." Rachel blinked in confusion. "What do you mean? Leave? What are you talking about?" The fortune teller was already gathering the cards with trembling hands. "Just leave! Fast! Don't go back home until—" She swept up the last card. Rachel felt something tighten inside her, strange, stupid, but frightening. "Tell me clearly. Go! Just go now!" The woman turned away. The conversation was over. Rachel stood up, and suddenly her legs felt weak. She turned back. The fortune teller sat staring at the ground, her shoulders trembling slightly. "Thank you," Rachel muttered and walked away. She didn't want to go home. She drifted through the park paths, and one phrase kept spinning in her head. "Leave your house." What nonsense. Just some scam artist who decided to scare her. She had already taken the money, so she put on a little performance. Rachel tried to convince herself of that, but her hands kept shaking. She checked the time. 4:45. Daniel still had an hour before he got back. She went home anyway. Walked up to the 3rd floor, opened the door. The apartment was quiet, the soft couch, the bookshelf, the photos on the wall, their wedding picture, her in a white dress, him in a suit, both of them laughing. 8 years ago? Rachel slipped off her jacket, put on the kettle, sat down at the table, stared out the window. Leave your house before he comes back. What if it wasn't nonsense? No, of course it was nonsense. Daniel was her husband. They had been together for 8 years. Yes, lately he had been a little distant, colder. But was that really a reason to panic? People get tired. Everyone goes through phases like that. The kettle whistled. Rachel made strong tea, took a sip. She remembered how Daniel had gotten ready that morning, pulled on jeans, a sweater, sprayed on cologne. She had been lying in bed, watching him. "You'll be gone long?" "3 hours, probably. Haven't seen the guys in forever." "Say hi for me." "I will." He leaned down, kissed her on the cheek. Quick, automatic, then left. A normal morning. So why wouldn't that phrase leave her alone? Rachel walked through the apartment, went into the bedroom. On his nightstand, a phone charger, a half-finished book, Ordinary Life. She opened the closet. His clothes on the right, hers on the left, everything in its place. But on the top shelf, she noticed a cardboard shoebox. She had never seen it before. She stood on her tiptoes, took it down. Light. She opened the lid. Inside were documents. Rachel pulled out the first page. A purchase agreement. For their apartment. The date. The day before yesterday. Buyer, Victoria Lane. Her heart dropped. She read the lines again, then one more time. Their apartment had been sold the day before yesterday to some woman named Victoria. But that was impossible. The apartment was in both their names. A week ago, he had brought home papers and said it was just a formality. They needed to re-register something. She had signed them without even reading. She trusted him. Everything in her stomach tightened into a cold knot. Rachel dug deeper. Another contract. For the country house they had bought 3 years ago, sold too. To the same Victoria. Date, a week ago. Underneath was a bank statement, their joint account, the latest transaction, 4 days ago. Everything had been withdrawn. Her hands shook so badly the paper slipped from her fingers. Rachel sank down onto the floor right there by the closet. Her head was spinning. The lines of the contracts, the numbers, the signatures blurred in front of her eyes. His signature, her signature. She really had signed them, thinking it was just bureaucracy. But it had been a sale. He had sold their apartment, their house, drained all the money. Leave your house. Oh, God. Rachel grabbed her phone. 5:40. Daniel would be back in 20 minutes. She had to think, fast. She shoved the documents back into the box, put it back where it had been, closed the closet. Went back to the kitchen, tried to breathe evenly. Maybe there was an explanation, but what kind? Where had the money gone? And who was Victoria Lane? She typed the name into a search engine. Dozens of profiles. None of them looked right. Downstairs, a door slammed. Footsteps on the stairs. The key turned in the lock. "Hey!" Daniel called from the entryway. His voice sounded normal, upbeat. Rachel swallowed. "Hey!" she answered. Her voice was shaking, but hopefully not enough to notice. Daniel walked into the kitchen, smiling. He leaned down and kissed the top of her head. "How are you? Miss me?" "Mm-hmm." She tried to smile. "How was the get-together?" "Great. We hung out, remembered the good old days. Steve's gone completely gray, can you believe it?" Steve, who had moved to another state 2 years ago. Rachel looked at her husband. He was drinking juice, scrolling through his phone. A normal evening. A normal husband. Except he had lied about the get-together, sold their apartment, taken all the money, and she had absolutely no idea what to do next. "Daniel," she said quietly, "I need to tell you something." He looked up. "I'm listening." "I went to a fortune teller today." Daniel smirked. "Seriously? You?" "Just for fun, out of boredom. She acted weird. Got scared of something, told me to leave the house." She waited for a reaction. Daniel laughed. "Wow, classic scam. First they scare you, then they offer to remove the curse for $100. Rachel, you're a smart woman." He said it lightly, mockingly, and everything would have felt normal if Rachel hadn't noticed the pulse jump in his neck. Just a little, barely noticeable. "I didn't fall for it," she replied. "I was just telling you." "Forget it. You want dinner?" "Yeah, in a minute." He nodded and walked into the living room. That night she didn't sleep. She lay next to Daniel, listening to him breathe, and thought. 6 months ago, he had started going on business trips. His job had never required that before. A month ago, he had grown colder, more distant. A week ago, he had brought home papers for her to sign. The day before yesterday, the apartment sale contract. Today, the lie about meeting friends. And this Victoria. In the morning, Rachel pretended to be asleep. She heard Daniel get dressed and leave, waited 10 minutes. Then she jumped up, got dressed quickly, called her boss. "I need to take the day off. Emergency family situation." "Okay, Rachel, feel better." She looked at herself in the mirror, pale face, dark circles under her eyes. She needed answers. Rachel left the house at 9 in the morning. First, she went to the property records office. The line was short. When it was her turn, she gave them the address and asked for a title record. "Rush processing is $50. It'll be ready tomorrow," the employee said. Rachel paid, got the receipt, walked back outside. A whole day to wait. She dialed her friend Lisa's number. They had been friends since college, the only person Rachel could trust completely. "Lisa, I need to see you, urgently." There was something in her voice that made Lisa immediately alert. "Did something happen?" "Yes. Can you get away at lunch?" 1 o'clock at our coffee shop." "I'll be there." 3 hours until then. Rachel went to the bank, the one where she and Daniel had their joint account. She sat down with a manager. "I need an account statement for the last 6 months. The manager clicked her mouse, frowned. "I'm sorry, but this account is closed." "Closed?" 4 days ago. All funds were withdrawn, and the account was closed at the owner's request. But I'm an owner too. It was a joint account. According to our records, the account was changed to a single owner 3 weeks ago. Daniel Collins. Rachel said nothing, a ringing filling her ears. "You didn't know?" the manager asked carefully. "No." 3 weeks ago. Those same papers Daniel had brought home. Just a formality, sweetheart. God, how naive she had been. The manager printed the transaction history from before the account was closed. Rachel took the papers and walked out. Sat on a bench by the entrance, unfolded them. Daniel's paycheck, her paycheck, regular expenses. And then, 3 weeks ago, a large withdrawal, transfers to a private individual. A week later, more. And 4 days ago, everything that was left. 8 years of shared savings. Gone in 3 weeks. The coffee shop was their favorite place. Small, cozy, with red booths. Lisa was already sitting by the window. "You look like you haven't slept in a week. What happened?" Rachel laid the bank statement and a photo of the contract on the table. Lisa read in silence, her eyebrows climbing higher and higher. "Is this some kind of joke?" "No." "Daniel sold your apartment and your country house and cleaned out all the money." "Yes." "But how? You would have had to sign?" "I did. He said it was re-registration paperwork. I trusted him." Lisa poured her some water. "Drink, breathe. Let's go in order. Buyer, Victoria Lane?" "Yes. I tried to find her online. Nothing." "Did he ever mention her?" Rachel remembered. "Yesterday I saw messages with some Victoria on his phone. He said she was a new employee, handling contract issues. So he knows exactly who she is. He sold everything to her." Rachel's voice cracked. Lisa leaned forward, took her hand. "Easy. You cannot panic. Listen, I've got a friend in the police, my ex, Mike. I'll ask him to run Victoria Lane through the database. Thank you. Don't mention it. We'll drag this guy into the light." "What happens after that?" Rachel asked. "After that, we go to a lawyer. We file in court, divide the property, demand compensation. If the sale was fraudulent, the court can void the deal, especially if you signed the paperwork without knowing what you were actually signing. A coworker of mine had something similar happen. The court sided with the wife. The sale was canceled. How long will that take? Months, maybe half a year. But the main thing is not to give up. And in the meantime, for now, don't say anything to Daniel. Act normal. Gather evidence. Lisa checked the time. I have to get back to work in 10 minutes. We'll talk tonight. They hugged. Lisa left, and Rachel stayed sitting at the table. Ordered a cappuccino just to keep her hands busy. Only one thought kept circling in her head. Another woman. Victoria. Maybe they had been planning this together for a long time. Drain the money, sell the property, disappear. Rachel opened her phone, scrolled through photos. There they were that summer at the country house. Daniel grilling barbecue, smiling, her arms around his shoulders. 3 months ago, their anniversary, a restaurant, candles, glasses of wine. Daniel kissing her on the cheek. 2 years ago. Had all of it really been a lie? At what point had he decided he didn't need her anymore? Rachel closed her phone, finished her coffee. She had to go home, make dinner, play the role of the loving wife. Just a little longer, until she had all the evidence. But first she called the attorney a coworker had once recommended. Hello? My name is Rachel Collins. I need a consultation, urgently. I'm listening. My husband sold our apartment without my knowledge. Or rather, I signed the documents thinking it was just re-registration paperwork. What can I do? The attorney was silent for a moment. This is a serious situation. Let's meet tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Rachel wrote down the address, hung up. Tomorrow. The lawyer. Tomorrow. The title record. Maybe Lisa would learn something about Victoria. And tonight she would go home, make dinner, smile at her husband. And wait. At home, Rachel greeted Daniel like usual, kissed him, asked about his day. He told her something about work, about a difficult client. She nodded, pretending to listen. After dinner, Daniel sat down to watch TV. Rachel went into the bedroom, opened the closet. The box with the documents was still there. She took it down, photographed every page. The apartment contract, the house contract. Then she put the box back. Now she had something to show the attorney. Daniel came into the bedroom. Why are you just sitting here? Just tired. Work was crazy. Go lie down, get some rest. He lay down next to her, turned off the light. Good night? His voice was calm. Rachel lay in the dark, listening to his breathing. It evened out. He was asleep. She stared at the ceiling and thought about only one thing. How many more nights would she have to spend next to a man she could no longer trust? In the morning, Rachel woke up before the alarm. Daniel was still asleep. She quietly got up, went to the kitchen, made coffee. Today, she had the meeting with the attorney at 3, and she needed to pick up the title record first. Daniel came out at 7:30, sleepy, quiet. Poured coffee, sat across from her, buried himself in his phone. Good morning. Any plans tonight? Meeting with a client. I'll be late. He finished his coffee, picked up his briefcase. Bye. The door slammed shut. Rachel went first to the property records office, got the document, unfolded it outside. Owner, Victoria Lane. Date of registration, 3 days ago. It was all official. The apartment was no longer theirs. Her hands shook. She pulled out her phone, called Lisa. Liz, I got the record. The apartment really was sold. Hang in there, listen, I've got news. Mike ran Victoria Lane, 32 years old, works at the same company as Daniel, a manager. Rachel's heart lurched. So she's not some new employee. They may have been working together for years. Do you have her address? Yes, I'm texting it now. Rachel looked at the address. A suburb, 40 minutes by commuter train. Her feet carried her to the station on their own. The neighborhood greeted her with gray apartment blocks. Rachel got out of the cab at the right address, an ordinary 9-story building with peeling paint. The apartment was on the 5th floor. The elevator wasn't working. The hallway smelled damp. She climbed the stairs, found the right door, rang the bell. Silence. She rang again. No one. Rachel went back downstairs, sat on a bench across from the entrance, pulled out her phone. Half an hour passed. She was already about to leave when she saw a woman walking toward the building. Around 30, wearing a short jacket and jeans, light brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. Pretty. She went inside. Rachel watched her. The footsteps faded on the 5th floor. So that was her, Victoria. Rachel stood there for a moment, then caught a cab back. On the train, she stared out the window. Victoria had looked ordinary. Not some femme fatale, just a woman. Maybe she didn't even know Rachel existed. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "I'll be late tonight. Don't wait up with dinner." Rachel typed back, "Okay, have a good meeting," and sent it. By 3 o'clock, she was at the attorney's office. A man in his 40s came out to meet her. "Come in. I'm Richard." "We spoke yesterday." They sat down, and Rachel told him everything. How Daniel had brought her the papers, said it was re-registration paperwork, how she had signed without reading, about the title record, the bank account, the missing money. The attorney listened and took notes. "Do you have copies of the documents?" Rachel showed him the photos. Richard studied them carefully. "Let me explain the situation. You signed a purchase agreement without understanding that's what it was. Your husband deceived you. That's called fraudulent misrepresentation. The transaction can be declared invalid, but we'll have to prove the deception." "How? Were there any witnesses when he gave you the documents?" "No, we were alone." "That makes it harder, but not hopeless. We need circumstantial evidence. Proof that you received no financial benefit from the sale. The money is gone, and you never saw any of it?" "That's right. He took everything from the account. Gave me nothing." "That's a strong argument. Next, the apartment was purchased during the marriage, which means it's marital property. By law, selling it requires both spouses' consent. Did you give notarized consent?" "No. I just signed the contract." Richard zoomed in on the contract photo on the screen. Right here it says, "The spouse gives consent to the sale, confirmed by her signature." And there's your signature. "So formally I did give consent?" "Formally, yes. But if we prove you didn't understand what you were signing, we can challenge the transaction. It will take time. 6 months, maybe a year." "I'm not letting this go," Rachel said quietly. "Good. Then we start now. We file a lawsuit to have the transaction declared invalid. At the same time, we file a police report for fraud." "That means against my husband?" "Yes. If they establish criminal conduct, it becomes a criminal case. You'll give a statement as the victim." Rachel said nothing. Testify against the man she had lived with for 8 years. Think about it. He stole everything from you, your home, your money, years of your life. Do you want him to just walk away? "No," she said. They discussed the details and the fee. An hour later, Rachel walked out of the office. Her head was foggy, but there was a plan. She called Lisa. "How did it go?" "There's a chance. We're going to court." "Good. Listen." Mike dug deeper. "Victoria has another apartment in the city, but bought it 2 months ago. It's in her name." Everything inside Rachel tightened. "That's money from our country house. He sold it 2 months ago." "Looks like it. He's been with her for a long time. He planned all of this in advance." "Yeah, better to know the truth." At home, Rachel changed clothes, poured herself a glass of wine, opened her messaging app. She found the company work chat where Daniel worked. She had been added to it a year ago for some corporate event. She found Victoria Lane on the list, the profile photo, the same woman from the apartment building. Rachel opened the chat and typed, Hello, Victoria. I'm Rachel, Daniel Collins' wife. I need to talk to you. Her finger hovered over the button. Should she? She pressed send. 5 minutes later, a reply came in. About what? Rachel typed, about the apartment you bought from me, and about my husband who you seem to have been seeing for a long time. A pause. Victoria typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, I don't know what you're talking about. Rachel smirked, so she was going to deny it. She typed, you will. Tomorrow I'm filing a police report against both of you. Fraud and theft of property. Sent. Turned off her phone. A bluff, of course. She hadn't filed anything yet. But let Victoria get nervous. Let her call Daniel. Let both of them sweat. For the first time in 2 days, Rachel felt something like relief. She was doing something. She was fighting back. Daniel came home at 11. Rachel pretended to be asleep. She heard him undress, lie down beside her. He fell asleep quickly. In the morning, when Rachel turned her phone back on, there was a notification in the work chat. Victoria Lane had left the group, so she had gotten scared. Good. At breakfast, Daniel looked tense. He drank his coffee in silence, not raising his eyes. How was your meeting yesterday? Fine, he muttered. Rachel looked at him. Daniel, do you remember those documents you gave me to sign last week? About re-registering the apartment. A flicker of caution crossed his face, but he quickly pulled himself together. Yeah, I remember. Why? Because it was a purchase agreement. You sold our apartment to Victoria Lane, and you took all the money from the account. Want to explain? He leaned back in his chair, stayed silent for a moment, then smirked. Well then, I'll explain. I needed money. A lot of money. For a new project. An investment opportunity that comes once in a lifetime. Real estate overseas. A 300% return in 6 months. I needed a big amount. So you sold the apartment without my consent? I got your consent. You signed the papers. You tricked me. I simplified the wording so you wouldn't worry. In 6 months, we'll buy an apartment twice as good. Are you insane? This is our home. I'm the head of the family. I make the financial decisions. What kind of head of the family steals everything his wife has? I didn't steal it. I invested it. And by the way, I paid for most of this apartment. It was my down payment. You just helped pay off the mortgage. We paid it off together for 8 years. I put in more, which means I have more rights. And who is Victoria? He flinched. A business partner. She's helping with the paperwork. And putting the apartment in her name is helping too. That's just a technical detail. After the project is finished, we'll transfer it back. You're lying. No, I'm not. You're lying, Rachel shouted. I know everything. I know she bought that apartment with the money from our house. I know you've been together for a long time. Do you think I'm stupid? Daniel went pale, stayed silent, then clenched his jaw. Where did you find all that out? That doesn't matter. What matters is that I know, and I'm going to the police. I'm filing a fraud report. He stepped toward her. Rachel stepped back. Don't do anything stupid. His voice dropped, almost gentle. Let's divorce peacefully. I'll give you money to rent a place. My own money. Ours. I just want this to go smoothly. No police, no courts. Why do we need that? Rachel looked at him. The same smile she had believed in for 8 years. You know what I realize? You think I'm an idiot. The truth is, you've been with her for a long time, maybe a year, maybe 2. You planned all of this in advance, drain the money, sell the property, and leave, for her. Start a new life, right? He said nothing. Right? Rachel repeated louder. And if it is, what are you going to do? You signed everything yourself. Yourself. No one forced you. It's all legal. But it's vile. He laughed. Rachel, we've been living like roommates for 3 years. No feelings, no closeness. I got tired. I want a different life, with a different person. I need money for a new life. That's all. You pretended for 3 years? I wasn't pretending. I was just living, working, saving, planning, and you never noticed anything. You were fine with it. You had a husband. He brought home a paycheck. The last few years, all you cared about was work. When was the last time you even cared how I felt? Rachel opened her mouth, but no words came. In some way, he was right. They really had drifted apart. She had thought, this is normal. It happens to everyone. Everyday life wears people down. That's why I found Vicky, Daniel went on. She understands me. I'm happy with her. With you, there's been nothing for a long time. If that's true, why didn't you divorce me earlier? Why all this deception? Because divorce means splitting property, 50-50, and I needed all the money. So first I put everything in Vicky's name, and then I was going to file for divorce. Rachel stared at him. You're disgusting, she said. Call it whatever you want, Daniel shrugged. I'm practical. I do what benefits me. And when were you planning to tell me? In a month or two. Once everything was completely finalized, I would have filed for divorce and moved out. You would have been left with nothing, but that would have been your problem. Rachel stood there, feeling her knees weaken. 8 years. 8 years she had lived with this man, loved him, trusted him, and all that time he had been planning how to clean her out. So that's it, she said. It's been over for a long time, Daniel nodded. You just didn't want to see it. He walked into the other room. Rachel heard him open the closet, pull out a bag, packing his things. 10 minutes later, he came out with a bag in his hand. I'm moving out. I'll leave the keys on the table. The apartment isn't ours anymore, but until Vicky moves in, you can stay here. You've got a month or two. How generous. Rachel, I really didn't want it to hurt this much. But there was no other way. Get out. He nodded, opened the door, walked out. The door closed. Rachel stood in the middle of the kitchen. Silence, empty apartment. Then she grabbed her phone. He admitted it. Everything. He said himself that he tricked me on purpose, that he had planned it all in advance. Oh my God, where are you? At home, he just left. I'm coming. Wait for me. Lisa arrived 40 minutes later. She hugged Rachel, sat her down on the couch, made tea. Tell me. Rachel told her about the conversation with Daniel, about his calm explanation of the entire plan. Bastard, Lisa breathed out. Rachel, did you record the conversation? Did you turn on your voice memo app? No, I didn't think of it. Damn, that would have been great evidence. All right. What matters is he admitted it. Tomorrow, back to the attorney. Tell him everything. And you need to go to the police and file a report. The sooner the better. I'm scared, Rachel admitted. What if nothing works? He's not getting away with this. Listen, I've got an idea. Let's try reaching Victoria directly. She's an accomplice too. Maybe she doesn't know all the details. Or maybe she'll panic once she realizes she's in the middle of a criminal case. She got scared of my message yesterday. She left the chat. Exactly. Write to her again. Ask to meet without Daniel. Rachel opened the chat with Victoria and typed, Victoria, I need to meet with you, without Daniel. There are things you need to know. This is in your best interest. They sat there drinking tea. 10 minutes later, the phone buzzed. What do you want to talk about? Rachel typed, about the fact that Daniel is using you, and you're risking criminal charges. A pause. A long one. Finally, tomorrow at 6 p.m., coffee shop on Main Street near the subway. Do you know it? I know it. I'll be there. Lisa smiled. See? She agreed. That means she's nervous. What am I supposed to say to her? The truth. That Daniel deceived both of you. That all the property is in her name. And if the scam comes out, she'll be the first one answering for it. Lisa stayed the night. They sat up talking until late, about anything and everything, just to distract Rachel. She was grateful. Being alone would have been unbearable. In the morning, Rachel went to see the attorney. Richard listened to the story about her conversation with Daniel. Too bad you didn't record it. But even so, are you prepared to testify in court? To say under oath what he told you? I am. Excellent. Then we'll include it in the case. And today go straight to the police and file the report. After the attorney's office, Rachel went to the local police precinct. The investigator, a man in his 50s with a tired face, listened to everything, wrote it down, studied the documents. Write the report. We'll review it, question the individuals involved. If criminal conduct is confirmed, we'll open a case. How long will it take? A month or two. Rachel wrote the report, signed it, got a copy. By the time she walked out of the precinct, it was already 5 in the evening. In an hour, she was meeting Victoria. The coffee shop was almost empty. Rachel ordered a cappuccino, sat by the window. Exactly at 6, Victoria walked in, looked around, came over. She looked tense, dark circles under her eyes, her hands nervously tugging at the strap of her purse. So, you wanted to talk? Yes. About the fact that you've gotten yourself into something serious. Victoria stayed silent. Yesterday you got my message and left the work chat right away, so you were scared. And right now you're sitting in front of me not because you're curious, but because you're afraid. I'm not afraid. You are, and you should be, because today I filed a police report against you and Daniel. Fraud, theft of property, criminal charges. Victoria went pale. But I didn't steal anything. No? Whose name is my apartment under? Who bought an apartment with the money from my country house? On paper, you're the recipient of stolen property. And if this goes to court, you'll be the first one answering for it. You could be arrested. Your accounts could be frozen. The apartments could be seized. Are you ready for that? Victoria said nothing, but her hands were shaking. I didn't want to deceive anyone. Daniel said everything had been agreed on between you. That you were getting divorced, dividing the property, and that everything needed to be put in my name temporarily, so what? So you wouldn't take half of it in court. He said you were demanding too much. That if everything was put in my name, then later he'd work it out with you, give you money, and everything would stay peaceful. Rachel smirked. And you believed him? I love him. We've been together for 2 years. He promised he'd marry me as soon as the divorce was final. A man who cheated on the wife he lived with for 8 years is cheating on his mistress, too. Shocking, isn't it? Victoria flinched at the word mistress. This is a serious relationship. He loves me. Enough to set you up for criminal charges. Do you know how much time they give for major fraud? Up to 6 years? Ready to go to prison for him? Victoria's voice broke. He came up with all of it. I just agreed to help. Exactly. And now all the responsibility is on you. The apartments are in your name. You got the money. And he's clean. Smart plan, right? Tears ran down Victoria's face. Rachel spoke more gently. I don't want to destroy you. I want back what's mine. My apartment, my money. And I want to punish the man who deceived both of us. Both of us, do you understand? He robbed me. And he set you up. What do you want from me? The truth. The whole truth. When you started seeing each other, when he proposed this apartment scheme. Victoria wiped her face with a napkin. We met at work 2 years ago. He was my mentor. He said he was unhappy in his marriage, that you didn't understand him, that he wanted a divorce, but you wouldn't let him. A year ago, he asked me to help temporarily put the apartment in my name. Then, after the divorce, He'd transfer it back or sell it and settle things with you. I agreed. 3 days ago, he brought over the documents and said you had already signed them. The apartment was transferred to me. He sold the country house 2 months ago. Same reason. With that money, we bought an apartment in the city. For the two of us. He said that after the divorce, we'd move there. And what did he say about me? That you were blackmailing him, demanding a large amount of money or you wouldn't give him the divorce. And that he didn't have that kind of money. I never demanded anything. I didn't even know he wanted a divorce. Until the day before yesterday, I thought we had a normal family. Victoria looked at her for a long moment. Really? Really? Oh, God, she whispered. So he lied to me too. To you too. Exactly. Victoria covered her face with her hands. I'm such an idiot. I thought he loved me. He used both of us. The question is, what are we going to do about it? What are you suggesting? Cooperation. You testify against Daniel. You tell the investigator that he misled you, that you didn't know about the fraud. In return, I ask the investigation not to charge you as a defendant. You become a witness. But for that to happen, you need to return the apartments, transfer them back. And the money? Where is it now? Daniel said he invested it in some kind of project. He didn't give details. Then we need to find it. Fine. Tomorrow you're going to the notary and signing the apartment over. Understood? But Daniel... To hell with Daniel. He set you up. Do you think he'll protect you when the police show up? No. He'll say you came up with everything yourself. Victoria was silent for a moment. If I agree, you really won't sue me? I won't. I need you as a witness. Okay, I agree. Where is Daniel staying now? With me, in that apartment. Does he know we're meeting? No, I was afraid to tell him. Good. Don't tell him anything until tomorrow. We'll do this quietly and fast. And after the paperwork is done, leave him immediately. They parted ways. Rachel called Lisa. Victoria agreed. Tomorrow she's transferring the apartment back, and she'll testify. Seriously? You did great. She's a victim too. She just didn't understand it. The next morning, they met at the notary's office. Victoria looked pale, but determined. The notary, an older woman in glasses, drew up the deed of gift. Victoria signed it. The agreement takes effect upon registration, the notary said. They walked out. Victoria held out the keys to Rachel. Here, Rachel took them. Her apartment. Hers again. Thank you. Don't thank me. I'm just fixing a mistake. I'll talk to Daniel tonight. I'm taking my things and going to my parents' house. Rachel went to the property records office and filed the paperwork, then headed to her attorney. Richard was pleased. Excellent. Victoria's testimony plus the return of the apartment, that gives us a strong position. What about the money? She doesn't know where he put it. I'll make an official request to the bank. We'll find out where the transfers went. At home, Rachel took a shower and lay down on the couch, thinking. 8 years of marriage. And in the end, betrayal and emptiness. But she had made it through. She hadn't broken. She had fought back, and she was winning. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Daniel's voice. Angry. Sharp. What did you do? Vicky gave the apartment back to you. How did you convince her? I told her the truth, that you deceived both of us. You bitch. No, Daniel, you're the bastard. You robbed me, set up Vicky, and thought you'd get away with it. You won't prove anything. I invested the money in a business, and you signed the apartment over yourself. I already got the apartment back, and the money will turn up. The bank will provide a statement showing where you transferred it. Silence. Then, I'll hire a good lawyer and win any case. Go ahead. Just know this. I won't give you a cent. I'd rather blow every penny than let you have it. I'll record that too. as a threat and an attempt to hide stolen assets. He hung up. Rachel's hands were shaking, but not from fear, from anger. He was still trying to break her. It wasn't going to work. The next day, Victoria came to the police and gave a full statement about Daniel's whole scheme, his promises, how he had convinced her to put the apartments in her name. The investigator called Daniel in for questioning. He denied everything, said it had all been by mutual agreement. But when they showed him Victoria's statement, he started getting nervous. Lisa called that evening. Mike says they're filing charges. Too much evidence. In about 2 weeks. 10 days later, Rachel received the bank statement with detailed information on all the transfers. The money had gone into 3 accounts. One in Daniel's name, the second in the name of a friend of his, the third in a foreign bank. She handed the documents over to the attorney and the investigator. "Excellent," Richard said. "Now it's clear where the money went. We can ask to freeze the accounts and recover the funds. About 3 weeks for processing, then court. And the foreign account? That's harder. We'll try through international requests." 2 weeks later, the investigator called Rachel in again. "A criminal case has been opened based on your report. Daniel Collins is being charged with major fraud. The case has been sent to court." "When is the hearing?" "In a month. You'll receive a summons." Rachel walked out of the precinct. The sun was shining outside. October was ending. November was beginning. But inside, she felt warm. The apartment was back. The case had been opened. Daniel would answer for what he had done. Victoria called her. "Rachel, did they tell you about the case?" "Yes." "They told me too. I'm going to be a witness in court. I'm scared, but I'll do it. He deceived both of us. He has to answer for it." "Thank you, Victoria. It's my fault for believing him. We both believed him. I was the wife and you were the other woman, but we were both victims." Victoria was silent for a moment. "You know, I used to think love meant a person was willing to do anything for you. Turns out he was willing to do anything for himself. At our expense. A lesson for the future," Rachel said sadly. "Yeah, a lesson." Rachel drove home, to her apartment, which belonged to her again. She climbed to the 3rd floor, opened the door. Quiet, empty. But it was her emptiness. Her silence. She sat down on the couch and looked at the wedding photo on the wall. Then she stood up, took down the frame, and put it away in the closet. Time to start a new life. The trial was scheduled for early December. Rachel prepared carefully, met with the attorney, reread the documents, practiced her testimony. Richard was calm and confident. "We have a strong position. Victoria's testimony, the bank records, your statements. It'll be hard for Daniel to wriggle out of this. What if he finds a good lawyer?" "I'm sure he already has. But the facts are on our side. That's what matters." Over those weeks, Rachel rethought a lot. Their marriage, their life, herself. She understood now that for the past few years she had been living on autopilot. Work, home, routine. She hadn't noticed how her husband had drifted away, hadn't seen the warning signs, but she didn't want to blame herself. Yes, she had been blind, but he had been a liar. And those are 2 different things. Lisa came by often, bringing food, wine, talking late into the night. One evening, when they were sitting in the kitchen with glasses of red wine, she said, "You know what I think? This is all for the best. The part where my husband robbed me? No. The part where you found out the truth. Imagine if he had dragged this out another year, 2 years. He would have drained every last cent and vanished. At least this way you caught it in time." "Thanks to the fortune teller," Rachel said with a smirk. "Exactly. She deserves a bonus." A few days later, Rachel went back to that little park. But the bench was empty. She asked a street vendor on the corner. "Oh, her? Haven't seen her in a while, 2 weeks maybe. Maybe she got sick. Maybe she moved to another spot. Too bad. Rachel had wanted to say thank you. December 1st, the day of the trial. Rachel dressed formally. A dark suit, a light blouse, minimal makeup. Richard had said it was important to make the right impression. Lisa wanted to come for support, but Rachel refused. I'll handle it myself. She arrived at the courthouse half an hour early. Richard was already waiting by the entrance. Ready? Ready. Speak clearly. Stick to the facts. The judge values facts, not emotions. The benches in the courtroom were almost empty. At the prosecution table, the prosecutor, a young woman with a folder of documents. At the defense table, Daniel and his attorney, a man around 55 in an expensive suit. Daniel sat calmly, looking at his phone. He saw Rachel, looked up, a smirk on his face. She turned away. The judge entered, a woman around 60, stern, with a cold gaze. The court is now hearing the case against Daniel Collins on charges of major fraud. The prosecutor read the charges briefly, dryly. Deception, document fraud, theft of property. Then Daniel's attorney stood. My client categorically denies guilt. Rachel Collins voluntarily signed the purchase agreement while of sound mind. All documents were executed legally. There was no coercion. Rachel clenched her fists. As for the money, it was withdrawn from an account that had been reassigned to a single owner. Therefore, there can be no valid claim from the plaintiff. It was a joint account, Rachel burst out. The judge gave her a sharp look. Please observe order. You will be allowed to speak later. Victoria was called first. She walked in pale and tense. The prosecutor asked questions. Victoria answered quietly but clearly, told them about meeting Daniel, about his claims that his wife was supposedly demanding an outrageous amount of money, about his request to put the apartment in her name. Did you know you were deceiving his lawful wife? No. Daniel said everything had been agreed on, that Rachel knew and had consented. I believed him. And when I learned the truth, it was from her personally. Daniel's attorney stood up. Tell us, did you have a romantic relationship with my client? Yes. And you were interested in helping him start a new life. So that means you knowingly participated in a scheme to move assets out of reach. No, I thought everything was legal. But the apartments were transferred into your name. Is that a fact? Yes, but... That's enough. Thank you. Victoria walked out, almost in tears. Rachel watched her go with sympathy. The lawyer was good, trying to twist everything around. Then Rachel was called. She walked to the witness stand, swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor began asking questions. Rachel answered calmly, just as she had practiced. Did you understand that you were signing a purchase agreement? No. Daniel said it was a technical formality, re-registration paperwork. I didn't read it. I trusted him. Why didn't you read it? Because he was my husband, the man I lived with for 8 years. I never thought he could deceive me. Daniel's attorney stood. You claim that you did not read the documents before signing them, but you are a chief accountant. You work with documents every day. Are you really saying you don't know that any paper should be read before signing? I do know that, but this wasn't a work document. This was a family matter. I trusted my husband. You trusted him so much that you didn't even glance at the text. A very convenient position. Sign anything you want and then later say, I was deceived. It's the truth, Rachel snapped before she could stop herself. He deliberately didn't let me read it. He said, hurry up, we don't have time, sign here. Any witnesses to that conversation? No, we were home alone. So it's only your word against my client's. The attorney sat down. Rachel returned to her seat. Her hands were shaking. The lawyer was good. He had made her look careless. Then Daniel was called. He looked confident, calm. Did you deceive your wife? No, I said it was paperwork regarding the apartment. I didn't go into details. She didn't ask. Why didn't you go into details? I didn't think it was necessary. We were divorcing and I wanted to handle things quickly. But Rachel says she did not know about any divorce. That's what she says. In reality, we discussed it many times. She just didn't want to accept reality. Why did you withdraw the money? For investments. Where is the money now? It's invested. I can't disclose the details. Rachel clenched her teeth. The trial lasted 3 hours. They questioned Daniel's co-workers, a bank employee, a handwriting expert. He confirmed that Rachel's signature on the documents was genuine. Then the judge announced a recess. Rachel stood by the window in the hallway. Richard came over. What are the chances? 50-50, honestly. His lawyer is good, but Victoria's testimony and the bank documents are strong cards. If it comes to it, we'll appeal. Half an hour later, everyone returned to the courtroom. The judge opened the folder. Rachel held her breath. The court rules as follows. Daniel Collins is found guilty of major fraud. He is sentenced to 4 years of suspended imprisonment, with a probation period of 3 years. Daniel Collins is ordered to return $130,000 to Rachel Collins within 6 months. This decision may be appealed within 10 days. Rachel sat there unable to move. She had won. Suspended sentence or not, he had been found guilty, and he had been ordered to return the money. Victory. Richard patted her on the shoulder. Congratulations. We got justice. Thank you, she whispered. Daniel walked out of the courtroom without looking her way. His face was like stone. Rachel stepped into the hallway. Victoria was standing against the wall. Did you hear? Yes. It's right. He deserved it. Thank you for your testimony. Don't mention it. I'm the one to blame for getting involved in this. We were both naive, but now we're wiser. They stood in silence for a moment. What are you going to do now? Maybe I'll move to another city, start over. Good luck, Victoria. You too, Rachel. Rachel stepped outside. December, cold but sunny. She called Lisa. I won. Rachel, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. He got a suspended sentence, but the main thing is they found him guilty and ordered him to pay the money back. That's a win. We have to celebrate. Come over. On the way to Lisa's, Rachel thought about everything she had lived through over the past 2 months. The shock, the pain, the anger, the fight, and the victory. Not a complete one, maybe, but still a victory. Rachel would get the money back. The court had ordered it, and she was free. From lies, from a fake marriage, from the man who had betrayed her. At Lisa's, they stayed up until late evening, drank wine, laughed, made plans. Let's take a vacation somewhere. Europe by the sea. You'll clear your head, get some rest. Maybe I really should, Rachel agreed. She smiled. She hadn't felt this light in a long time. A week later, Daniel made the first payment. Rachel got a notification from the bank. The money had come through, only part of the total amount, but it was a start. By New Year's, she had redone the bedroom, changed the wallpaper, bought a new bed, got rid of everything that reminded her of Daniel. Lisa came over to admire it. The whole atmosphere is different. Bright. Fresh. A new life, Rachel smiled. A new beginning. Did you file for divorce? I'm doing it in the next few days. Nothing is holding me back now. They sat in the kitchen drinking coffee. Snow was falling outside. New Year's was almost here. You know what I keep thinking about, Rachel said. If it weren't for that fortune teller, I never would have found out anything. Daniel would have left, and I would have been left with nothing. No apartment, no money, no future. Fate, Lisa nodded. Sometimes signs are sent. The important thing is to notice them in time. I noticed, and I acted, and I won. Rachel spent New Year's Eve at Lisa's. A small group, laughter, dancing, champagne. When the clock struck midnight, Rachel made a wish. Not about love, not about money. Just that life would be easier from now on. That it would move forward calmly and brightly. In January, she filed for divorce. Daniel didn't object. A month later, they were officially divorced. Rachel got the certificate and put it in her folder with the documents. That was it. 8 years of marriage were over. A new chapter was ahead. She went back to work with new energy. Her boss noticed the change. "Rachel, you look younger somehow. Your eyes are shining." "I just got some rest," she smiled. But it wasn't about rest. It was about the fact that she had gone through fire and didn't burn. Daniel paid the money back in installments. By summer, the debt was almost fully repaid. Rachel put some of it aside for a rainy day, spent some on renovating the apartment, and used a small portion to buy a trip to Greece. She came back tan and happy. Lisa met her at the airport. "You look amazing. You can tell right away. You had a good time." The sea, the sun, no problems. They hugged. Life went on. Rachel worked, saw friends, went to art exhibits, traveled. Sometimes she remembered what had happened, the betrayal, the pain, but without anger, just as something she had already lived through. One fall day, almost a year after the trial, she was walking through that same little park and saw the familiar bench, and on it, that same fortune teller. Rachel stopped and walked closer. "Hello. I wanted to thank you. You saved me." The fortune teller looked up, recognized her. "Me? I just laid out the cards. You saved yourself. But you warned me." "The cards warned you. I only passed it along." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "What did you see that day?" "Deception, betrayal, loss, but also strength, your strength, that you'd make it through. That's why I told you, leave before it's too late." Rachel held out some money to the old woman. "Please take this. It's my thanks." The fortune teller took it and slipped it into her pocket. "Happiness to you, child. And to you, too." Rachel walked on. She turned back. The old woman was sitting there watching her go. Then she bent over her cards again. Rachel smiled and headed home. Home. To her apartment, to her life. The life she had defended and rebuilt. Without lies, without betrayal. Her own real life. And that was happiness.